You know what I love? When something stupid can show you something profound. You know what's stupid? Indie comedy phenomenon of 2024, Hundreds of Beavers. And don't get it twisted, okay? Stupid in the best possible way. If stupidity was a rock, Hundreds of Beavers is carving that up like Bernini. How do I describe a movie like this in 12 words? Pure slapstick comedy, live-action Looney Tunes, beating up mascots. A lot. So that's the something stupid, and what is the something profound that it showed me? That I'm not a failure. Hey there! If you're wondering why I happen to be in the Minecraft overworld, it's because in my last video, I went into the Minecraft overworld to watch the Minecraft movie 5 times. Yes, I did that. And at some point, I seem to have misplaced the enchanted interdimensional flint and steel that I used to create the portal. So pretty much I've been hanging out in here for a while, and it's got me thinking about Hundreds of Beavers. So we're gonna talk about that today. After I explain what I'm about to explain, you're gonna get like a 2-for-1 deal, okay? That's value. A freaking hilarious movie that you need to see, and a solid reminder that you're not a failure, or a reminder for you that I am not a failure. But before I can connect the dots between a movie about beating up animal mascots and how I am not actually, in fact, a failure, we have to talk about the kind of story this movie tells, which is a story of progression. It's about a successful Applejack brewer named Gene Kayak, whose whole operation is destroyed by some woodland creatures. And now he's left trying to survive in the wilderness. Now, I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers as much as possible because you really need to experience these gags for yourself, but I'm gonna dissect one of the first couple gags out of the 100,000 of them to use as an important illustration. At the very start of Gene Kayak's journey, he's faced with a problem and a potential solution. The problem is hunger, and the solution is a nice and tasty wabbit. So naturally, he tries to one and catch the wabbit. Duh, what do you think, I'm an uneducated dumbus? The wabbit is pretty fast. In defeat, he just rolls up a little snowball and tries to throw it at him. Doesn't get anywhere near close. He fails. But then something happens. The wind blows the snowball and it starts to roll and get a little bit bigger. This new information gives Kayak an idea. What if he shapes the snow the way Bernini would shape a rock and creates a decoy to lure the wabbit so he can grab it? Just look at this guy strutting. Where is he strutting to? It works. The wabbit is lured by the decoy, but Kayak is still too slow to catch the wabbit. So using this new information, he has to try something new. Now he's one step closer to his goal. That's all I'm going to show you about the movie, but the story follows that progression. This arc of attempt, failure, and information. Needless to say, Kayak fails in this movie a lot. You could say really that most of the movie is just him failing. But this progression arc reminded me of something similar. The video game Don't Starve. And to be honest, I am 95% sure that this movie is in some way based off of that game. I know that the director is a gamer. I could see it in his bloodshot gamer eyes. But hey, that's just a theory. A movie potentially inspired by a particular game theory. Don't Starve is a survival roguelike. And if you think about it, it's actually kind of similar to Hundreds of Beavers. In Don't Starve, you're plopped into this harsh wilderness and you're tasked with, say it with me now, not starving by learning the ways and systems of the wilderness so you can eventually master it. The entire goal of the game is just surviving as long as possible, when everything, and I mean everything, is trying to kill you. There are these huge spiders that if you get too close to them, they want to eat you. Pigmen that will beat you up if you get too close. Every dozen or so days, a whole pack of wolves will just come out of nowhere and try to eat you. The weather conditions are so harsh that if you don't prepare for it, you may freeze or overheat to death. The game is relentlessly brutal, and it's all about figuring out these systems so you can become a master of the wilderness. Everything you need to succeed in the game is all there. You're just not experienced yet. The interesting thing about this game is when you first play it, it teaches you nothing. It drops you in and is like, you figure it out. That's not my job. What are you looking at me for? The progression of this game is pretty identical to Hundreds of Beavers. They share a lot of DNA. Why am I talking about this game instead of the movie? Well, let me get closer to my point by talking about something completely different. Roguelikes. If you're not familiar, roguelike games follow a particular formula that's different from a lot of linear games that you may be familiar with. Roguelikes tend to be run-focused, meaning that instead of playing through a game with levels or progressing in a certain world or something, you're actually just making one progression through the world, and if you die, you have to start all over again. Oftentimes, the world is procedurally generated, so every new run is slightly different. The kicker, however, is that these games are particularly difficult. They are known for giving you a spanking just about every time you play. In fact, you're probably going to be losing in this game far more than you ever make progress. But the true beauty of roguelikes is that you have pretty much everything you need to beat the game. Sure, maybe you unlock some sort of like meta content that slowly helps your chances a little bit more and more, but the reality is the leveling up you're doing is not for your character. So it's not so much about the materials or the equipment you gain, but it's about leveling up your mindset. That's right, roguelikes are for the Sigmas out there. Now, what I absolutely love about roguelikes as a game concept is that they actually kind of mirror life in a profound way. It may not be true in all cases, but in theory, everything you need to get where you want to go is out there. So really, the game you're playing is one about growing, learning, and getting skilled. It's all about learning from every run so that next time you have a new edge to it. You have new strategies. You have a new mindset. Circumstances could change from run to run, and luck can often be for or against you, but you can always make choices and grow from what you've learned. Now, if you think about it, life is really just kind of a series of roguelike runs. Any attempt towards any goal is still going to have the same sort of components to it. An attempt, a likely failure, and information. And this is what I think makes roguelikes such profound games, because they actually mirror a phenomenon that happens in real life. Maybe more so than other random games, but the idea of trying and progressing towards something. It's not always about what you're given, but what you take from the experience. And again, the toughest reality, and why these games are often for a lot of the psychos out there, is that it's extremely difficult. You get beaten down again and again, and probably far more often than you would ever like. These games can be so brutal that it might not make you want to try ever again. When you get your head bitten off by a wolf at day 31 and you had like a whole base that you created, it's pretty devastating. And just getting beaten down by the hordes and hordes of undead in Hades might make you feel that you just suck at being good at combat. Getting destroyed by purple stakes so many times that it makes you think that maybe it's not the cards that you're dealt, but that you're just a bad card player? Maybe there's just something wrong with me. When I was in high school, I was like determined I was going to be a songwriter. I would listen to my favorite music artists and just marvel at how they were able to combine words and melodic progressions to tell such an emotionally compelling story. And as a young budding tween, I really wanted to do something like that. I thought about it a lot. In some ways, it gave me a lot of hope. But for some reason, songwriting didn't come super naturally to me. I would finally muster up the focus and courage to write something, and then when I was done, I would just look back and go, gross. I wanted to make something incredible and thought-provoking like the music that I listened to, but it rarely came out that way. And naturally, right? I was a high schooler. Of course I was writing crap at the time. And the thing is you gotta write a lot of crap to finally get to some of the better crap. Nobody's writing OK Computer on their first try. The thing is that I really hated the feeling that I was met with every time I would make something and then stare back at it and just see how mediocre it was. And frankly, it made me just not want to continue trying. Every time I had the opportunity to make a new attempt, I just saw something mediocre on the other side of it, and I just refused to do it, refused to even try. And then I would always get stuck in this loop of wanting to try to write something, but only making it halfway because I was scared that the end result wasn't going to be as grand as I first pictured it. I kept myself from pushing forward, from learning, from growing, and putting in the work so that I actually could create something impressive. It sucked, and I felt like a failure. Being met with failures like that time and time again could be just so discouraging, to the point where you just don't want to keep picking it back up because you just think it's going to mean more pain, more reasons to just give up, more reasons why I shouldn't continue. All right. Before you click off because the video is getting a little sag, let me now give you some hope. Okay? We're going to break down why Hundreds of Beavers actually proves to you that you're not a failure. If we want to discuss what failure is, we're going to have to define failure and success. Failure is defined as the following. 1, lack of success. And 2, omission of occurrence or performance. As you can see, failure has 2 components of the definition. 1, omission of occurrence and performance, and 2, a lack of its opposite, which is success. And what is the definition of success? Favorable or desired outcome. All right, let's start by breaking down the first component of the definition. Lack of success. Since success requires a favorable or desired outcome, that likely means that there is a set of criteria you need to meet in order to succeed, which distinguishes success from any other common outcome that wouldn't be seen as favorable. An example of this would be trying to get a job. It has a unique criteria of being skilled or experienced in a particular field. If there were no criteria, you would get job. Pop right out of the womb and you would have job. Have job. Now let's say that you make your first attempt at getting a job, and during the interview, you fart when the interviewer asked you what your skills and interests were. The room you're both in is very small, so they definitely smelled it, but you don't want to acknowledge it, so you just keep going with the interview. You then find out afterwards that they don't want to move forward with you because you're stinky. Now, what happened here is a lack of success. You're bummed that you released poop air during the interview, so now you're left with 2 options. 1, you try to get another job interview where you don't rip serious booty in front of your potential employer, or 2, you never try again. Now this brings us to the second component of the definition of failure, which again is omission of occurrence or performance. Omission of occurrence or performance would be if you never tried again, or if you had your ability to try again completely removed from you. It's the omission of any potential future attempt towards the goal. You're so rocked by the fact that air from your bowels crawled out of your butt and into the nose of your interviewer that you can't take that kind of thing anymore, so you don't try. You never try to get a job again. Now, when you take a step back and look at the decision tree, it seems kind of clear that one fail state is more true and definite than the other. If you're at the decision tree and you tried to look for another interview, you didn't really fail, did you? Sure, it's a failure by definition because you lacked success momentarily, but if you're taking what you learned and you try again, then it doesn't really seem like failure. In fact, it seems more like learning, growing, leveling up your skills. Because what are you probably not gonna do the next interview you go to? You're probably not gonna rip ass so bad that it makes the interviewer think that you ate farts for breakfast and then pressure cooked it in your gut throughout the day and then pepper sprayed it into their face. Real failure would be never trying again. Right? To me, it seems that failure can be looked at in 2 ways. One is more temporary and probably insightful, while the other is more definite and unproductive. It's the difference between lack of success and omission of occurrence or performance. So if lack of success can be temporary and you gain valuable experience or information on how to succeed, then why is this seen as a bad thing? That is the path to success. That is progress. This really should just be looked at as a step of the learning process. I think we're always pre-built with this idea that we want to achieve the goal on the first try, but that doesn't really prove much about your experience or your abilities or skills. You could have just been lucky. But you know what proves your abilities, your experience, your skills is how well you pick yourself back up from failures and where you go with what you've learned. Sure, I could pick up some disc golf, toss it into one of the little things, and then boom, score on the first try. But what happens if I try to do that a second time? It's probably gonna be more clear that I don't know what I'm doing. If I wrote one of the best songs ever on my first try, yeah, that would be sick. But if I tried to write a second song, there's a good chance I would probably fall flat. Learning and getting more skilled from many failed attempts increases your consistency of doing better, of going farther. And so if that's the case, why are we looking at that kind of failure as failure? It's actually not. You know what? I don't think it's real failure if you've gained insight, you gained wisdom that helps you go a little farther next time. Yes, it is a failure by definition, but are you going to call the pro athlete who has failed hundreds and hundreds of times but is now like winning big, are you going to call them the failure? Or the one who quit a long time ago? These are the opportunities in which we can level up and go farther. And yeah, it doesn't feel good, but hey, going to the gym doesn't either, and it's good for you. So they say. Failing a lot at something doesn't mean you're a failure. You are gaining more opportunities to become experienced. Trying, failing, and giving up is what we got to avoid, man. We got to be like the psychos who are playing roguelikes. You fail 500 times so you can win that one run. And boy, when you win that run, it's so good. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so good. But truly, I think we need to stop seeing these as failures, but like as opportunities to learn. Learning opportunities. This Larry June song I heard recently sums it up pretty perfectly.
If you really want to win, you gotta take them steps. I took a lot of L's, but I'm still thankful. Cause it's not really an L if you gain, son.
And that is how Hundreds of Beavers showed me that I'm not a failure. Seeing before me the progression of attempt, failure, and information repeated again and again showed me at a bird's eye glance the nature of progression, the story of progression. And the story of progression, I think, is not success. I think it's about growth. And growth can hurt. But if you're growing and you're adding to your skills, your experience, your knowledge, you're increasing your chances for success. Every time Gene Kayak lands a fist in the skull of a beaver mascot, I'm thinking about how many times I've been knocked down, but how important it is to learn to get up again and to try again. Hundreds of Beavers displays this in the best, most stupid, and most profound way. And boy, does it bring a tear to my eye. Hey, thank you everybody for watching a video where I'm probably taking the wrong lessons from just like a comedy. But I'm glad you checked it out. Thanks again. Love y'all. Snail kisses. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.